All right, welcome to Let Freedom Ring. Kind of a surprise episode here. We were supposed to be in studio today. My guest, unfortunately, had a family emergency. We're gonna get him on the live stream, Dave Coolis, on Monday night. We got a big week coming up next week too. We got Kendall Reyes coming on the show in studio. We have Pleasure Pete Mankar coming into the studio next week. So a lot going on, but today it's Thursday. You know what that means? You got to have your Let Freedom Ring. We got to bring it. We got to be on the air, and we're on the air. And we're going to bring in my brother who has recently started a podcast, and we're going to talk about that. But Mike Beaulieu making his return to Let Freedom Ring. Mike, how are you?
Let's go. I'm good, man. I'm always down to come on the show, and I was in the area, and I really wanted to come to the studio, and I know it didn't work out, but that's okay. We're here. We're on StreamYard, and we're crushing it. So listen, that's great. Listen, you have some really cool guests lined up. Those are people that I think you go back a long time with. Kendall, very good dude. Pete, very good dude. So I think you got some really exciting stuff.
Great things, and they're both doing big things. And I think
100%.
it's going to be a good week. I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand, especially when it comes to the studio. When there is a cancellation, I go into full scramble mode, trying to figure out who's gonna come in. So people that received probably a message that I like to use the time, especially if I like to have a show out every Thursday.
I can't blame you. That consistency is what I appreciate about your show. It's all reliable. Thursday night, you can expect old DB to show up in the news feed. So I appreciate that, and I wish I could have made it because I was in the area. But here we are. That's okay.
Yeah. No, we'll get you back in the studio, but yeah, let's talk about how you've been doing. You haven't been on the show. It's been a while, been a minute. I'm not sure exactly how long. I'd have to go back and look, but it's been months.
Yeah.
A lot's been going on in your life.
A lot.
So what's been happening?
Yeah, man, I've been crazy busy with life, with working and just crushing it every chance I get. I have a baby on the way, which is very exciting. I got married. I don't think I've been on since I've been married, so I have a lot going on.
The big family pic here.
There we go.
From the wedding.
Wow.
We all look really good.
We all look amazing. Look at those smiles. Beautiful. What a picture.
Addie is looking away unexpectedly there.
Yeah. I'm surprised we got as many of us to look as we did. So that was my wedding. That was an amazing time. Oh gosh, look at that splash in the background. At that point, I said to the photographer, I said, if I get splashed, you son of a bitch, I will be so mad. But I didn't. So that was good. And the view there was amazing, man. And it's hard to believe we were in New Jersey, but we were. So I mean, hell of a wedding. I feel like you had a good time. I feel like we talked about that. So
very good time.
Yeah, my wife is an amazing person. I know and love her, and she's been such a rock during pregnancy. She's a badass chick. So I've been good. My life is easy. When you got someone like that in it.
Now, what's it like to have all that going on? Now, I'm just a guest at the wedding. I'm in the wedding party. We had to do a dance. I can learn to dance.
That's right.
But you got a lot going on as the groom that day, and as the bride, you had the Sangeet the night before, which is almost as big as the actual wedding.
Right.
And then the next day, you have the Indian wedding. I guess you'd call it. Would you call it an American wedding? I mean, or just I don't even know what you call it.
That's what we called it. Yeah.
What is that like? I mean, there's so many places to be, so many things can go wrong. What's the pressure like on the groom and the bride on that day?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and it's stressful. It's very stressful. You kind of feel like, I'm not gonna lie, you feel like a celebrity for the day because we were assigned a person, both of us, to take us to everything we need to go to. So I'm being just dragged around all day to go to where I need to go, and I got multiple outfit changes. There's a lot going. We set the fire alarm off in the hotel. So there's just a lot going on to the point where you just feel like you're never really just relaxing. So that was a big stressful part of it. And then it's really a lot of getting everyone on the same page. I was on the beach for the American wedding about an hour before my wife came out. So, I spent some time just chilling. Well, I should have been chilling on the beach when I should have been, getting ready or having drinks with you guys or something for the groomsmen. So that would have been nice. But it's stressful. It's a lot, but it's worth it. When you see the pictures, you see the video, you see everything we did. It was our dream wedding. So it's everything we wanted to be and more. So I can't complain. It's stressful, but it's worth it.
No, a very good time. And I know you had someone falling around taking pictures. You had to release the cat out of the bag that I always carry a knife. I don't know why I do, but I always do. And it actually came in handy this time.
There you go.
So we're very prepared for that. But it was an absolute great time. Now you guys are expecting your first child. A lot of nerves going on for that. It's a big deal. First time parent.
It's a huge deal. Yeah. You think about all the things that and I hate to say this, but you think about all the things that can go wrong first, and you always question whether you're ready for it or not. There's a lot of people in this world who become parents and make it work. So I feel like we're going to be okay, but it is stressful. There's a lot of stress added to that. And there's stress to, do we have enough space in our house? Do we have, do we have everything we need for this baby to be happy? Do we have, should we have this baby shower? How do we announce it to people? We're really not, the two of us really aren't about those gender reveals where you explode something and start a California wildfire and stuff like that. So, it's tough to be on the right side of things, but, she has been such a badass through the whole experience. So, I'm just kind of following her lead, and that's all you can do. I'm excited to be a dad. You and I have a niece and a nephew, so we have a little experience there. They're awesome. I love them. So, it's exciting. It's, Alicia and I talked about this before we got married. We always wanted kids. So, we're getting what we want, and it's right after we got married. So everyone who finds out that we're having a kid always asks, was she pregnant for the wedding? And I'm like, no, she wasn't. But very soon after. So, it's exciting. I'm ready to be a dad, and you can see all these things I got behind me, these Funko Pops, right? So I keep joking with Alicia. I say, I got a lot of cool shit back there, and someday they'll pay for our child's college tuition. So we'll cash out on that.
Just don't let them go the way of Beanie Babies, because a lot of people thought that was gonna pop.
It's like the stock market. Yeah, cash out when it's at the top. I can't hold on for them can't hold on to them for too long. You can see that whole top shelf is actually WWE characters. I don't know if you can actually see that, but a couple of those are really really valuable, like Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Eddie Guerrero, Hulk Hogan. There's a lot of cool ones up there. So I'll keep an eye on that, and I'm gonna sell high. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna sell high, and I'll make as much as I can off it. Or maybe I'll keep them and I'll never do anything with them. That's what you keep saying. So we'll see. We'll see.
No, I hear that. I wouldn't part with most of my stuff, just no matter what. But no, very exciting stuff. I'm very excited to be an uncle again. It's a big time for our family, so it's super awesome.
Yeah.
Wedding was a blast. A lot of people don't understand. Yeah, you might have got pregnant fast, but COVID, it postponed a lot of people's lives.
I know.
Because you could have got married. I think the wedding was supposed to be last year. Obviously, you couldn't have the ceremony you wanted.
Yeah.
So people got to be a little understanding of that. But let's also talk about another big thing you're doing now. And I got it on the board here. Maybe can't read that. Maybe we got to get a little better whiteboard here. But the Silver Bow Experience podcast that you're doing with Nietzsche. I forget how do you say Nietzsche's last name? De Silva?
De Silva.
Oh, De Silva.
De Silva.
De Silva. So I was right. Brand De Silva. They got the same last name. Oh, they're both Brazilian.
Yeah. They're very similar. So Brando de Puma and Nietzsche De Silva. Armanici De Silva, actually.
Armanici, yes.
No. But yeah, they're both Brazilian. They both have that last name. So it's a cool last name. Both cool guys. So yeah, we got that podcast going, man.
Yeah. Now, how did you guys decide that you wanted to start a podcast?
Dude, so I think at every point in a guy's life, they say to one of their friends, like, dude, we should do a podcast. Like, that always happens, right?
This show is not a podcast, by the way. I want everybody to understand that. This is not a podcast, but go on. My show.
Massive distinction, right?
Yeah.
It's a show. You have a studio where we don't have a studio. We do everything online, and which is cool because we're 3 hours behind each other. Nietzsche lives in California. So we really have to work around that, which has been an interesting experience, but it's also, we have two different unique perspectives. So, Nietzsche is one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my entire life. He's always made me laugh. We've always riffed off each other really well. I think we're playing video games together a few times, and we said a few jokes that we just like couldn't stop talking about. We just made and some of it's at Bobby's expense. Sorry, Bobby, but some of that being, some of the funny jokes we made. We just said, it'd be funny, dude, if we did a podcast. Like, I feel like you and I would be good at that. We have a very good back and forth. And so we decided to do it, and we had talked about it for a couple months, and then at Bobby's wedding, actually, we said, let's just start filming, or recording, I should say, and let's see what we get. So that's what we started doing. And the funny thing about our podcast is we don't write a lot of stuff down. A lot of what we do is improv. So Nietzsche's he has history as an actor, and he's been studying to be an actor, and he has a lot of good experience, and he brings a lot of energy to the show. And I just sort of riff off him, and I just wait for him to say something, and I'm able to just jump in on that. So I think what made us decide to have the podcast was just making each other laugh back and forth and saying, why not? Right? What's the worst that could happen? Let's record something and see what happens. And I think we've had some really good experiences with that. Really good feedback on the comedy aspect of it. We don't write a lot of stuff down, so the fact that we get so many laughs out of it is pretty cool experience overall. And Nietzsche is such a phenomenal editor because we're constantly making each other laugh. Like we have, if you saw our bloopers, outtakes, whatever, it's pretty intense. But we say a lot of stupid stuff that just like cracks each other up. But he is a phenomenal editor, and he does a lot of great work. So it's a good partnership, I think.
Yeah, no, I always laugh at some of the things on there too, and we do have some. I do have a few more questions. We do have some comments from the audience. I still have not figured out completely how to get the comments on the screen. We got some shout outs from Soapy Preop, my rival. He said, congrats again, Mike. Just saying what's up. My buddy Kendall Glover just saying, Dan the man, go Spurs and Cowboys. He's a big Texas guy. So we want to give a shout out to Soapy and Kendall watching at home. We appreciate it. At some point, I'll figure out how to get the comments to show up on the screen. No, but how do you guys come up with the skits, and exactly how you're like, you're in separate places. How are you? Like when you're doing a skit, are you recording at the same time or?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me start by saying, Soapy, I love you, brother. I know you guys got some beef, but that's a good dude right there. So
I'd say it's more than that. I mean, it's a vendetta.
Hatred. Yeah, man. So we like I said, we don't write a lot down. A lot of what we do is improv. So I'll kind of come up with. So we do a cold open, which is something that we kind of took from The Office, which is sort of making people laugh without serving the story. It's just sort of, it stands on its own. And so, Nietzsche and I usually sit down and we talk about like we just go off of ideas. But so we sit down and we go over that. And one of the things that we had was like, wouldn't it be funny if a lot of this is happening in my mind? So a lot of what we do is in my head, and not necessarily live skits like you would think. It's sort of like living real life and then thinking about how I'm interpreting it in my head, which is cool. I know you've seen or heard, I should say, we did one that was pretty funny. It's like stuff I don't like doing. Like I don't like splitting checks. I don't like going out with groups of people and then paying for other people's shit. That happens way too often. So
annoying.
But I'm such a fucking pussy, or I should not swear.
We're a family show.
Sorry. Such a jerk that I'll just pay, okay, whatever. I'll put my card down, whatever it is, and I'll pay for it. But I hate doing it. So I said, what if we did something like that, where Nietzsche and I are splitting a check, and Nietzsche wants to, he wants to do it one way, and I want to do it this way, and all that happens sort of in my head, and all the comedy is sort of off the screen, And I think that's a unique way of doing things that we do it, and we just let we let it record, and we make a lot of mistakes, and we laugh a lot. We're constantly cracking each other up. So I got to give credit to Nietzsche. He's such a good editor, where he takes the story, and I kind of have bits and pieces of it, and he really puts it into something that really pops. So that's really how we do it. Is we'll sit down and we'll talk about like what's funny. What do you not like to do? What do you like to do? What would be a funny scenario? And it's just basically off our experiences, like stuff like that. And to make it work, it really is just letting it record and letting Nietzsche edit it after, because he boils it down to what's funny, and he has a real knack for that. So I appreciate his work on the podcast.
So if you're going to sell me the show right now on what the show is about, what exact is it? Is it more of a comedy based, the things we run into in everyday life type of thing? Like, is that kind of the theme?
Yeah, I would say that's a big part of it. I would say it's your commute to work type podcast. It's a podcast where you can just shut your brain off and you can just laugh. Everything we say is to be funny. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We're kind of a parody of, say, like a Barstool Sports type thing, where you might have your average guy give very serious opinions about heavy stuff, right? So you might hear Dave Portnoy talk about and we're the antithesis of Barstool, so I don't want to focus too much on that. But you might hear him say, like, let's talk about Donald Trump and let's focus on this, and give a very serious opinion on that. We're the opposite of that. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We have a segment that we do that's current events, and it's never anything serious. It's all stupid stuff that we just kind of found as we were going. We're always trying to joke with each other. We have one segment, it's called BS or Not, and we kind of throw something out there as like factual, and then they have to guess whether we're actually serious or not. So stuff like that. If you're driving to work on a Friday, and because we actually drop every Friday morning, so we have one coming out at midnight. It'll be available actually. So when you're driving to work on Friday, or if you have some downtime and you want to shut your brain off and just laugh, that's what our podcast is about. It's not taking yourself too seriously. It's ripping off of each other. It's using our experiences. It's a little bit of everything. So, we also take a lot of listener feedback, and we actually encourage that. We have some.
And I apologize. This is the logo right here.
That's the logo. That's the logo, baby. And
again, we are a family show, but this is the logo of the Silver Bow Experience.
Well, listen, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what we told Apple. That is not what you think it is. That is, they're holding something. That's a belt that happens to be, leaning down a little bit. That's a sausage that is someone holding it behind them. It's not what you think. Not what you think. So, we have gotten away with it on every platform imaginable with some very poor explanations for what that is. But yeah,
could be anything. You can't really see,
No,
it's in different, colors. So
yeah, it's a silhouette at the end of the day, so it's hard to tell what's actually behind it and what's not. But we're a comedy show. We're there to make you laugh. We're there to not take ourselves too seriously. Shut your brain off. Drive to work. Don't worry about it. That's where we really are. And again, we're improv. Like everything we do, we don't plan. There's segments that we follow, but we don't really write a lot down ahead of time. And it really is just riffing.
Now, is it easy to have a co-host? Like, I don't think I could, personally, for the show and what Let Freedom Ring is, I don't think I could do a weekly co-host. Like, I like to be the one in control of what's going on with my show and the content of my show. Obviously, the guests are the content, whatever they bring on. Is it tough, or is it more fun working off ideas of each other, or like what's that like having a co-host?
Yeah, I love working with Nietzsche. He's one of the funniest people I've ever met. So what I like about it is if I have an idea, I usually have, 75% of it. And I'll say, hey, Nietzsche, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And he's able to take it past the finish line and say, like, what if we did it this way? And I do the same for him. It's also a couple things where, maybe I drive a lot of the comedy behind it. Maybe I write a lot of that stuff ahead of time, but Nietzsche is a master editor. So he takes it, and when I mess up and I have to do 10 takes to get through, because he's making me laugh, and I have to do 10 takes to get through a segment, Nietzsche can cut that up and edit it and make it work. So, it's a lot of give and take. It's a lot of being on the same page of things and having similar goals of it, which is just have fun. We don't do anything other than have fun, So I love having a co-host. I love that Nietzsche kind of drives the podcast, and I just kind of get to be the guy who reacts to what he's saying. I think it makes my job a lot easier. But I can understand what you're saying from your perspective. If you had a co-host, it's just a lot going on. So we don't really do a lot of guests and stuff like that. So I think that helps us the content is being driven by the two of us. So similar to the way when you have an episode, you have two people kind of making it happen. That's sort of the same thing we have. We don't really have a third person in the room that's kind of taking away from us. It's kind of him and I just working together.
That makes sense. And where do you see the direction of the show going? I mean, was there any goals that you had going forward, or is it kind of just like we're going to let this thing guide and we're going to see where it goes?
We're just going to let it run. Our big thing is to be consistent. Similar to your show. We want to release every Friday. We want to be ready for that. We want to stay ahead of current events. We want to just constantly, like, if we get to a point, we get a lot of good feedback on our show. If we get to a point where we're not getting any feedback or our listens go down to a certain point, we're doing something wrong. And, we don't have this, it's not like if we make it to 100 episodes, we're going to stop. We don't really have a goal for that. It's just, keep having fun with it, keep making each other laugh. Things are obviously always going to be tough. We're on opposite sides of the country. He's 3 hours behind where we are now. So for Nietzsche right now, it's 6:51. Where for us it's 9:51. So, and we both work full time, so we have to do after hours. So sometimes we find ourselves recording at midnight, 1 o'clock on the East Coast. But we make that work. I don't think we've ever set boundaries or goals, or if we hit this number, we're done. I think it's just like that. When we run out of ideas, we'll stop doing it. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
And how's the missus taking all this? Does she listen?
She I mean, to an extent, she does. She thinks it's funny, but she'll only listen to it if I make her, like in the car.
Yeah.
Nietzsche's wife Stephanie, she is an avid listener, and she'll make like suggestions to us. So
Okay.
It's kind of cool to have that, and so I think they're okay with it. But I think it's finding the time to do it at the same time. And we're both flexible with each other. Like if Nietzsche can't do it one day or I can't do it one day, we'll make it happen. But we try to stay a week ahead. We film a little, or we record a little earlier sometimes. It's a give and take for sure. But the wives are as okay with it as two can be. Sometimes me and Nietzsche say some really wild stuff, and some of that will come back to haunt us with the wives. But other than that, it's just sort of it's a lot of fun to just make it happen.
And a shout out to Nietzsche. Nietzsche, be very careful sometimes when making a joke at certain times, because you may have maybe a bride, maybe somebody ready to rip your throat out if you're not careful. But love Nietzsche, great guy, great show.
Amazing.
Check it out. You guys are you're on podcast, Spotify.
We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. Anywhere you get your podcasts, we're available. We're on Anchor. So yeah, anywhere you get your podcasts, we're available. We're on Instagram at Silverbow Experience. We're on Twitter at Silverbow EXP. We take a lot of feedback and we put that into the show. So if you're interested in being part of it, that's definitely great. We've got to a point where, and I can't say too much about it, but Nietzsche and I have been offered a couple sponsorships actually. So we've kind of been running with that a little bit, and we're working on that in the back end. But it really is it's just a funny show, and we're just trying to make people laugh, and we don't take ourselves too seriously. So it is what it is. It's a Silverbow Experience. It's not your average podcast,
Nice. Well, send me over all that social media stuff. We'll put that in the comments of this video when it is streaming on YouTube right now, but we can edit that and put those in too. Let's just talk about some sports stuff and some pop culture while we got you on tonight. Monday Night Football, Patriots beat Buffalo, and all the Patriots haters in the world, and there's a lot of them, dogging on Mac Jones for doing nothing but handing off the ball. I forget how many yards he actually threw. It was not,
19.
What was your take? I found this brilliant considering the conditions, but I do feel like there's this base that they hate the Patriots so much they'll find anything about this franchise to just like, oh, you won. Oh, well, you haven't beat anybody. Even though a week before they're like, oh, Buffalo's so good, or the Titans are so good, or the Browns. But once the Patriots beat them, they're like, well, you haven't beat anybody.
It's always something, right? It's always the defense won the championships, Vinatieri won the championships, whatever. It's always something. But, it's such an interesting game because it was a great game plan at the end of the day because I mean, they won. You know, they popped off a 64-yard run, and that's where a lot of that comes from. As a fan, frustrating game to watch. I was annoyed at times where I'm like, dude, throw the ball. You have the wind at your back now. Like, what's your excuse? Like, throw the damn ball. It's just a very slow, obnoxious game. But you know, I think it speaks to Belichick and Baby Belichick, Steve Belichick, or whatever the guy who's like, you know, on the side, he looks like an idiot on the sideline. And then you have Josh McDaniels too, who
So
just
much different than his dad, just by his
so
his
much.
haircut.
Yeah, he's acorn that fell a little far from the tree in terms of how he acts. But you know, it was a frustrating game, and I can understand that. It's annoying that the Patriots were able to win with passing 3 times. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, so you lost Tom Brady, and it's like everyone's, you know, like, here we go, chomping at the bit. Here we go. They're gonna suck now. And you have that year last year, not a good year. And
COVID year, though. That's how I look at it.
I think Cam gets a little more heat than he should over what happened last year, being that he had COVID, being that they barely lost a few of those games. And, you know, it was a tough season, but now we're back. And I think that's annoying to some people. That's like, oh, we thought dynasty over meant 10 years of you suck. And here we are in the hunt, first in the AFC, first number 1 seed. So I think the game itself, frustrating as hell to watch. I want him to throw the ball like hell, but you know, where they don't get a lot of style points, they'll still get that win, and that's what matters.
I mean, what matters to me, end of the day, is winning and winning football games, and that is what they're doing. It just is funny how the haters
Couple of
are.
haters.
It's like anytime they beat a team, now it's, well, that wasn't a real team, but 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you're saying that they're a top contender, and now you're flipping the script, and it's like they haven't beat anybody. It just gets like to the point where like your hatred's so high that you're delusional.
You can't win. Yeah.
You know, like, and I mean a lot. And the rest of the season, they're all winnable games. You know, and but what I said earlier in the season, when they hung on with the Bucks and they hung on with the Cowboys, and now the Cowboys seem to be a little bit of a decline. I said they're losing games, they're not getting blown out. The only time they ever really got blown out was New Orleans. This team has been.
We were at that game, unfortunately.
Not me. I was winning softball championships, but yeah, I've now gone to a few more after that. But they were never getting blown out. Nothing, you know, it's just crazy. Like sports fans, specifically NFL fans, are just like ludicrous. Like,
yeah, there's always something, you know, and it goes back to, if you're a dynasty, there's always going to be something, right? So the Bulls were stacked, and the Yankees bought everybody, and Tom Brady's assistant quarterback. It's Bill Belichick, and then you know, Tom Brady goes away. It's like, Belichick was never really that good. You can't draft. It's always gonna be something. You know, if you're a team that wins, there's always gonna be a reason for it, and that reason has to be an excuse. And that's an unfortunate reality when it comes to sports. Is fans are bitter. You know, you want your team to win, and when they don't, there has to be an excuse.
well, we do have, you know, I'm wondering if I'm just putting this, like, if you comment, so Bobby's calling the silver boner donor. I don't know what's the deal here. If I don't know if I can't, like, because I share this on my personal page, I'm starting to think that I can't get those comments onto the actual StreamYard.
Who knows? I'm looking at it right now. I can see Bobby.
Well, he must. I think he commented on the Let Freedom Ring, because I mean, it's shared on the Let Freedom Ring page, my personal page, and YouTube. So I'm still figuring out StreamYard.
We're getting there. Here's the thing. Bobby's right. Dominating pops, the pop situation. Absolutely crushing it. He's right about that. A silver boner donor. Because I want to make sure I explain that. Now,
that is a thing. I thought he's just like making a Bobby comment.
That's the thing. So we're called the Silver Bow Experience. We call our listeners silver boners.
Just put that on a t-shirt.
Dan Morse made me a t-shirt, actually. So I do have that. He did. Yeah, so we do have that. A silver boner donor is the platform we use allows people to donate to the podcast, and that goes towards equipment. Like right now, I'm using this. I bought this way before the podcast, but I'm using a very fancy microphone. So we're using top shelf stuff, so we don't sound like the Charlie Brown parents where people can't understand us. We want to make sure that we sound as clear and as professional as possible, and it helps us, with our ads to reach people. It helps us with our sponsorships. We don't sit there and with our hands out or anything, but if you want to, we have that option. And we've had a few people help us out big time on that, like Bobby, like Cam Bernazani. We have some great people helping us out, and that's a damn distinction. I mean, that's like that's like an award, being able to be in that elite class of people who have made our podcast what it is today, which is probably the best damn podcast going. So we're lucky, we're blessed. Hashtag blessed.
Very awesome. Very awesome. Well, the other thing I want to ask, sticking with the Patriots, because now it's turned into this. Now Mac Jones can't be the rookie of the year. Did that game really affect if he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year?
No.
Man, sports media is so goddamn annoying. It's
They're
so annoying.
If they, they're, I look at places like, people like that, they're just really, they gotta sell it to somebody, right? So if you look at Undisputed, whatever it is, with Skip Bayless and
Shannon Sharp.
They just, what they say is just there to piss people off. They don't. I can't imagine they really believe a lot of what they say. It's just like the more people engage with them, the better they get. So if I get on there and say, Mac Jones never going to be rookie of the year now because of that one game, forget his amazing completion percentage, forget his game management, everything that goes into being a rookie, he's not going to get that because of that one game. I'm going to get people to respond to that. And Patriots fans are going to be like, whoa, 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 what did you say? And they're going to tune in, and they're going to comment, they're going to like, share, subscribe, whatever it is. It really is just to get people amped up. I believe that. It's kind of like a epic troll job, And I think that, I don't think that game hurt his chances. I think, what is he getting, 200 yards a game? I don't think he's that far behind where he was with his sweet 19-yard performance. But I think the people put too much stock into what sports media is saying when sports media is really there to just piss somebody off. That's how they get their viewers.
And I honestly think that the New England sports media is absolute worst. I do not listen to the Sports Hub anymore. I can't deal with it. Sometimes, I'll dabble, check in, but oh my gosh, especially last year, it's like we knew what we were up against. There was the defensive players all were sitting out, and we just lost our quarterback.
The most sit-outs in the league.
Yeah, we're lucky we went 7-9. So, this whole like attacks on Belichick, and whoever took the sign out attacking Belichick at Gillette when we played the Bucs, I would use some language that I don't use on my show towards you because this is a family show. But unbelievable. But who's winning the division? Did the Patriots pull it out?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Bills really had to win that game. We have a pretty favorable schedule, so I think we still have one game with the Bills, and we'll see how that goes. But they left that game and they were like, "Nah, Belichick doesn't deserve that." That's more on us as a defense than them as an offense, and I think they really downplay the play calling and the balls it takes to run the ball 347 times or whatever the hell they did. That was driving me nuts on Monday. They downplayed it, and I think because we did even when you're stacking the deck, right? You have everyone on the line because they're going to run, and then you still get 222 yards. I think that pissed them off because the Patriots ran the ball down their throat, and that's not a fun way to lose a game. Part of it too is the Bills had all the opportunity, right? They got down there, their defense didn't hold, but their offense got to where they need to go, and they kept getting shut down in the red zone. They tried to kick a field goal into the wind, which was probably ill-advised. I think Josh Allen has the best arm in the league, and if not top 2, 3. So I probably would have thrown. I wouldn't have tried to kick it. I would have gone for it. But easier to look back at that game and say, here's the mistakes you made, when they're trying to call it. I think to me, Sean McDermott looks like such a butthole. I think he looks.
Oh God. What a clown.
He's flipping out at the refs the whole time. I look at Sean McDermott as if he was, let's say Bill Burr never found comedy, right? And they came to him and they said, "Here's the Christmas future of you if you don't get your crap together and go into comedy." That's Sean McDermott to me. Just this angry little elf that will just always, every time we play him, he reminds me a little bit of Rex Ryan, where sometimes Bill Belichick is so in his head that it affects the way that he calls the game. He left that. He got to the press conference. He said, "Let's not give Belichick too much credit."
You'd never hear Belichick say that about another coach.
No way.
Never. It's and that's the difference. That's the Patriot way. That's different from these other teams or teams like the Bills. I mean, granted, I did think their players that walked out of the press conference on the defense. I don't blame them. The Buffalo media was being
The question was insulting.
dickheads to them, and they were just like, you know what, we do these
losers.
Yeah, you just embarrass yourself in front of the whole country. Like,
what's it like to poop your pants on live TV? Come on, man.
I'd love to see those press, the press get out there and do what these guys can do. So, but I didn't think what they did. Like, I was like, you know what, fair enough. Like, you lose a game, that's the last thing you need someone. Like, you just lost the game. It's the last thing you need someone doing to you.
Yeah, it's funny too because one of those players. Well, I shouldn't say it's funny. It's not the right word, but all game they're putting one of those guys. I can't remember his name because I've never felt like necessary to remember Buffalo Bills players' names, besides like a Josh Allen or something. But they're putting him over all game long about he's the guy was he's very influential with the league and helping players get cleaned up and what they need to be. But then he gets in that press conference and they're like, "What's it like to suck?" And he was like, "F you," and he was stormed out. So the story should have been all the great things he does, but the story ended up being him walking out. And that's part of being an athlete.
And you know what that tells me is that he cares.
Of course, yeah.
Is that he cares. Like, you start attacking. Oh, you just embarrass yourself in front of everybody. What a bunch of losers.
Mac Jones can't even read.
Yeah, like, I totally don't blame him. Very different from what McDermott did, though. Like, Belichick is so far in this guy's head. It's like the Patriots would never do that. You beat Bill Belichick, he's going to give you all the credit in the world, no matter how you do it. They just know how to handle the media. And I don't know if you also knew this. They did not allow Peyton Manning to talk to Mac Jones after Monday Night Football. And that was before the game even happened.
Before the game, which is fantastic, by the way. Like,
you should protect your rookies.
Yeah, and I love Peyton Manning, but that's pretty great. Where like, nah, he's got to focus on the game. I think some of those guys feel above the game, and I'm not saying that's Peyton's thing, but he has an agenda now. Because he has that show. So, and they said, our rookie quarterback needs to focus on the game right now. And that's just peak Bill Belichick. I love that.
Well, Manning said that when he was a rookie, the Colts protected him too. I think when you are a rookie in the league, you got to be careful on the interviews that you take. Like, ever since Brady was given some interviews, but we've seen a different side of Tom Brady since he's left the Patriots. Like, he'll just let it fly. He'll say whatever he wants.
Right.
He wasn't doing this in New England.
Yeah, and it's tough for someone like Mac because obviously he's got to have been influenced by Peyton, so he might be a little more chipper than he would be with other people, and he might say the wrong thing, and you just don't know that. Peyton Manning didn't his rookie year he threw like 20 interceptions or something like that.
Yeah, so, I don't know. What was that? 98? Was that his first year?
Yeah, 98, and he didn't have the best year, and you don't want to get Mac into that. Hey, I threw interceptions. What do you think your completion rate? And he's like, I roll. Sorry, family show.
Yeah.
I'm awesome. They just don't want to put him in a situation where he, part of being an athlete too, and it's the stuff you don't get to see is they go through media training, and how to respond to the media and how to react to certain things. And when you have a rookie, you don't want him to be in a position that he's not comfortable being in. So, hey, go talk to one of your idols and tell them all about what a great year you're having. It's like, it's not the Patriots motto has always been, when you lose, say little, when you win, say less. and you let Mac, who's you see him win the
22-year-old kid, 23-year-old kid.
You see him win in Alabama. He's got the cigar in his mouth, and he's got the beer belly out, and he's got a flat chest, and it's like he's just like rocking and rolling, man. And I think if you go into a meeting with Peyton Manning and you start talking about that stuff, they don't want the college version of Mac Jones to come out, because Mac is he's a great quarterback. He's a sweet kid, it seems like, but he does have two DUIs. He's made.
Does he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he's made some mistakes in his past, and I think they want to protect him as much as possible, and they want to build up this brand. He just registered MJ10, MJ10. So he's trying to build something there, and they're probably trying to protect him as much as humanly possible.
I did have a little bit like of an issue with that. It's like, win something first, but obviously, you're out to make money, but you got to earn your keep. Right. Aaron Rodgers goes on Pat McAfee every week. Aaron Rodgers has proven everything that he's ever had to prove. Tom Brady takes whatever interview he wants to take. He's proven everything he has to prove. Baker Mayfield took every commercial possible, hasn't proven anything.
Yeah, they're a mess, unfortunately.
He did beat the Steelers in the playoffs. That's pretty big. That's probably the biggest win for Cleveland in a very long time.
You're a Cleveland Browns fan, you gotta be happy with that, right?
That's like winning the Super Bowl.
When I remember when they, they got what's his face, the wide receiver there who just left for the Rams. Yeah, I don't know why I was blanking on that, but you had Odell Beckham, and you have Myles Garrett on the defense, and you're putting together some amazing offense, and you think, here we go, we got the pieces in place, and Baker's gonna be one to get them there, and then he's just he's not bad, he's not great, I don't consider him elite or anything like that, so I think it's tough to be a Browns fan, because he's probably the longest tenured quarterback in his 3 or 4 years than they've had in a
very, very long time. Hot potato with the QB, and you can't have that.
Right, but you get a guy like Odell, who's setting the world on fire with Eli Manning, and he comes over to.
Was he though? Setting the world on fire at any point? I don't know the numbers, but.
Oh, he was a 1,000-yard receiver. How many years?
Yeah. He's not helping the Rams all that much.
No, he's not. He had a good.
They didn't win a game in November.
Yeah,
they didn't win a freaking game.
I don't know what his stats were, but I saw him grab the end zone the last game they had. So, maybe it's a decline in his game. Maybe it's not just on Baker, but that's who it kind of fell to. But the expectation, regardless of performance, the expectation was that they were going to be very good, and that offense was going to roll, and they didn't. And they were okay last year. We spanked them. We embarrassed them. I don't think Odell even played in that game. He might have even been gone by then.
No, he was gone, and I was hoping that maybe, because I went to that game and I was like, what if the Patriots get Odell Beckham and this becomes even a bigger deal?
Jesus, can you imagine?
I'm glad we didn't, because I don't think he's, again, the Rams were winning a lot of ball games until he got there. I'm not saying it's his fault, but I'm just saying the season's turned around since they picked him up in the wrong direction.
Exactly. So I'm looking at his stats here, right? And we got we got all right. So let's just go based on yards. 2014, he has 1,300 yards and change. 2015, he has 1,450. 2016 is 1,367. 2017, he gets injured. He only has 302 yards. 2018 and 19, over 1,000 yards. And that's with the Browns, by the way. And he barely got over 1,000 yards, but 1,035 in 2019. 2020, he's barely playing, 319 yards. This year, just a ghost. He's not even on the team, and I don't think going.
His dad's pissed.
Yeah, and I don't think going for Stafford right. I don't think switching to Stafford made that big of a difference. It doesn't mean he's not a playmaker. You look at someone like Randy Moss, who he goes to the Raiders and he's just not putting up the numbers. He's not the guy he's supposed to be. And then he goes to the Pats and he gets a Tom Brady. And Tom Brady's elite. There's there's not a lot of Tom Brady's out there unless Odell went to say Green Bay or somewhere like that.
I think Randy Moss is unhappy though.
But and maybe Odell was
And
too, and maybe he still is. But then Moss comes to the Patriots, puts his stamp on things. He has the greatest season by a receiver of all time.
Oh yeah, and everybody thought he was done. And
Right,
all of a sudden it was like, woo, Randy Moss.
Randy.
That was
Yeah, it's tough.
even losing that season still like my favorite. Like not one of my favorites. It was unbelievable.
I didn't watch the man in the stadium on that season. I was like, not interested.
If I would have died right after they lost the Chargers or beat the Chargers, to say, never would have known. Would have gone to the grave saying this is the most unbelievable season of all time.
Yeah.
So
Tom recently said that is the best NFL team of all time.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
They lost in the Super Bowl, which is unfortunate.
Rams haven't won a game since OBJ and Von Miller got there. Bobby Williams.
He's not wrong there.
That's crazy.
And those are both massive names. And sometimes when you have, and I won't say it's about Von Miller because I don't think that's the case, but OBJ is a big personality, and apparently his dad is a big personality too, and that can be a distraction. And when he's worried about how many yards he has, that's an issue.
How about winning football games?
Win the damn game. Kendrick Bourne, who he's no Odell Beckham, but he said after the game, he said, "I don't care about your fantasy points." He's like, "I care about wins."
John Maskin says they just won on Sunday. I just want to say, anybody watching, I think you have to comment on the Let Freedom Ring page for me to see them and actually put them on the screen. I don't know why. Whatever is happening with my personal page, it's not coming on here. So if you do want to comment and have your comment seen on the show, I think that's where you have to do it. Just a heads up. But go ahead.
But that's a good distinction that he pointed out, is they won. And again, I think that's where I said he had the touchdown. So if he's producing and Von Miller's keeping the quarterback in check on the other side, I mean, it's a dangerous team. And
they should be. I mean, I'm not saying they're done or anything like that, but man, there's some talent there.
Where once they figure it out, right? If they haven't already, once they figure it out, they're going to be tough to play against. So
and then Bobby strikes back at John Maskin and Maxon. Jags don't count. The Jags beat the Bills. They did. So let's.
Bobby has a good point though. The Jags are trash. So it's not
horrible.
Not a huge win, but a win nonetheless.
Yeah, but watch they come to freaking Foxborough and they beat the Patriots or something, and we're all gonna be like, "Come on!" But Urban Meyer, man, what a bust!
What a bust! He's too busy. He's too busy in the bars banging people.
He's clowning around. I mean.
He's Hollywood. You in Hollywood.
I mean, he got me. At least he brought Tebow in, so I could finally get a Tebow jersey. I should have bought one when he was on the Patriots, but now I have a Tebow jersey for a team that he never actually really played on.
Jags jersey, which is cool.
Wearing that around Virginia, people were like, "How did you even get that?" I was like, "Don't worry about it. I got it."
Yeah, it seems like a custom because he wasn't there that long. You would think he can get a damn jersey.
Well, I ordered that jersey literally. The week he got cut, like right before.
Good time.
Okay, now Bobby's saying asterisk against the Rams win. Now Maskin is going on my page. Maskin, get on the Let Freedom Ring page so that I can put your comments up. Which Beaulieu endorsed the idea of Patriots tanking? Oh, so that's a strike at me. I did say that in our church ball group chat when they lost to the Cowboys. I wigged out. You can't. No, listen. When you have a big loss and you feel like there's a lot you need going on, you get a little bit emotional and you say things that you probably don't mean. Okay? I was pissed off. Tell me a football fan that hasn't reacted and said something ridiculous after a loss. There's probably everybody's done it.
Probably.
So, Masson, don't start with me, but I did freak out that day. I'm not gonna lie. And
that was a tough game. I think to be fair, the Patriots Cowboys game should have been a blowout. The Cowboys should have destroyed us. We found ourselves in a good position because of some of their mistakes. And that last play of the game was heartbreaking. I mean, I don't blame you for being annoyed because that sucked.
Well,
But
my hatred of the Cowboys too, like took over me.
right.
Where I want that game, I wanted to win so bad that when they did lose, like I just lost my goddamn mind.
Yeah, my fantasy football team has Zeke and Dak, so I don't hate the Cowboys at this point. I need them to produce.
And anybody knows me, I don't update fantasy football teams, so that's why I've been kicked out of most leagues. All right, that's a good amount of football. Let's just talk about some other stuff real quick. Baseball's in a lockout again.
Yeah.
Can't afford to delay the season. I know we're months away. I just want to say the last time they did this, it took a lot to bring the fans back after 94. The guys that brought the fans back, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, not allowed to be in the Hall of Fame, yet they saved the league.
Yeah.
Man, any take on this? I guess all the stuff's off the MLB page right now. Are you concerned about the season?
No, I'm not. I think the owners paid. There's a lot of them that paid a lot of money for free agent contracts this year, and I think even since the lockout, none of that's really stopped. I don't know what they're allowed to actually do, but there's still a lot of talk about who's going where and when and how and how much.
Chris Warren's been called out live on Let
Chris
Freedom
Warren
Ring.
he never updates his team. He just updated this week, and he played Dalvin Cook and Madison in the same game. So, yeah, Bobby's right there. He doesn't. But, I think they'll be back. I think, the lockout is a very temporary thing. I think, the owners gave a lot of those bloated contracts that they've, now sort of regretted. They're giving a lot of, 10, 13-year contracts that will never work out for them. And they really bank on, front loading the first 5 to 7 years. And that, there's no predicting that. So I think that the lockout will be short lived, but the baseball needs much bigger changes than that. They need some type of salary cap or some type of something.
You got billionaires arguing with millionaires.
Right. It's like, who cares? Just play the damn game,
I'm always going to take the side of the players, though. Because
Same.
they're the ones going out there doing it. Like a lot of people are like, oh, the players are so greedy. I'm like, the players are greedy. Let's talk about the owners here for a little bit.
It's like $12 for a beer at Fenway Park right now. The
Yeah.
players don't decide that. I'm not saying ownership is 1,000% direct, responsible for how much I pay for a beer, but Jesus Christ, man, when the Red Sox weren't winning any games, the price of admission didn't go down. Beer prices didn't go down; they went up.
Let's tell a little story here, and you were there for this. Red Sox hired Bobby Valentine in 2012 and had an absolutely horrible season. Terrible. 2013, Boston bombings happened. Bobby hits us up and goes, what's the most American thing we can do right now that they found this scumbag? The two scumbags, one of them's dead. Okay. And then they got his brother, thank God. He goes, what do we need to do? What did we do? We were like, we're going to Fenway Park. Okay, this is 2013. This is the night David Ortiz says this is our bleeping city, and no one's going to dictate our freedom. But the big thing going into that was that John Henry had said, or the Red Sox had said, half-priced beers, half-priced hot dogs. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do.
I think you walked up and said, I will take the finest half-price beer that you have.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a Dixie cup. And you're like, I think we all just went, all right, just give me a full beer. Yeah, I'm not going to come back here every 5 seconds and have a Dixie cup. Like, thanks for the 2 sips of beer. Like, that's not what that's not how I interpret it. If you say half price, that doesn't mean it wasn't half price. It was, here's a quarter beer for half the price of a regular beer.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a clever way of getting you in the door.
Next question was, okay, I'll take the half price hot dogs. You got to go in that line over there. And the line was like ridiculous. Yeah. And I remember being like, F you, John Henry.
Yeah.
This isn't come on.
I almost felt like they were afraid of not being able to get people in the door. People be afraid to come down to Boston after that.
So they made that deal before the bombings.
Oh, they
did.
Just
to be clear.
Yes. Okay.
That was, we had a shit season. We want you coming back. Here's some half-price stuff. And it was a lie.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't what you
Oh,
thought.
yeah. It was game was epic. Don't get me wrong. It was worth the price for admission.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, I mean, we get there and we're like, let me get some of them deals, and the deals are not good. Not good.
Completely misled.
No, you get a like little Disney princess cup of beer and a little quarter of a hot dog, and you
So
pay like a little bit less.
these owners crying poverty, get out of here.
No,
But
that's cool.
I think it will get fixed. But I will say, MLB, you do not want to go down like you're already losing ratings. The games. Listen, you took away steroids. We don't get the home runs that we want anymore.
Bring back the steroid.
Like, so you really don't want to, and you're not allowing guys that you knew were taking steroids in the Hall of Fame to bring the fans back, which is also annoying.
Which is crazy because they not only did you're right, they brought baseball back, but if you think about it, everyone in that era was taking steroids or doing something. So
There's Hall of Famers in there already.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta say that like it was just the times, it's and that's whatever, you can spin that any way you want and say they cheated, they whatever, but you can say from X year to X year, everyone was taking steroids, so we're just gonna let them in. And we're not going to put an asterisk there or asterisk there or anything like that. But, we're all kind of aware of it. Just if McGuire, Bonds, whoever, if they go in the Hall of Fame, that's a sellout. 100%.
I would go.
I would go. And Cooperstown would be the busiest you've ever seen it. And we went for Pedro's induction. That was crazy busy. You could see a million more people there. And Bobby's right. Free Pete Rose. Like, the guy didn't take steroids. He bet on some games. He seems to say that he bet on his own team, and I'll take his word for it. Bring him in. Bring Pete Rose in. What are we doing?
I don't disagree, but I agree. I want him in. I mean, I got Pete Rose right here. Rocking the Phillies if John Masson is still watching this episode. I love Pete Rose. I love Pete Rose highlights. I have multiple Pete Rose jerseys. I have multiple Pete Rose, pictures. I think Pete, there's more of a story for him to be banned than there is for the steroid guys, because Pete Rose did a thing that they said, don't ever do this. Right. Don't ever do this.
Explicit.
If you gamble, we will ban you from Pete, any other player, don't do this.
You want to
And Pete said, I'm doing it. And I think the worst part about what Pete Rose did, and again, I still want to see him in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying maybe at some point we got to say, all right, let it be, is the fact that he was a manager and he was still betting on baseball.
He had control of the game. He could take a pitcher out. He could pinch hit whoever he wanted. He had a lot of control over the game. So I can understand that sort of line of thinking. But it's a gray area, if you ask me, because he's not the worst person to ever come out of baseball. There's been
I think they're ready to put him back in, and then he said, I still gamble.
There's people in the Hall of Fame who didn't even want, anyone besides white people playing baseball. And they got in the Hall of Fame. And he said, well, it was the times, what can you do? So just say that Pete Rose may be a butthole, but, he's a butthole who's Hall of Fame worthy.
OJ Simpson's still in the NFL Hall of Fame?
He is, yeah.
I mean, I guess he was never convicted, but
he did
yeah.
He did it. Yeah. You have, it's renamed now, but you had Yawkey Way on in Fenway, next to Fenway.
For years. He told Willie Mays to get off his feet. Imagine we could have Willie Mays. I mean, obviously I wasn't going to be watching back then, but
we would have won some damn championships between 1918 and
another Hall of Famer, legendary player, could have been a Red Sox.
One of the best players of all time.
I do have a question from John Maston here. And again, I think if you want to ask questions to show on the actual show, you got to do it on the Let Freedom Ring page. But John wants to know, serious question. Would you rather have a 100% clean game or juice batters with pitchers with spider tack?
Ooh,
spider tack.
So do you want pitchers to be able to alter the ball a little bit and the batters be on steroids, or just a clean game? I think, God, that's a good question.
I love home runs.
I think even playing field, right? Because if you think of the Roger Clemens and the Andy Pettits of the times, they were doing steroids.
Oh, here we go. Maskin, here it is. He put it on the page. We're figuring out StreamYard here.
Nailing it.
Um, yeah, John, this is a great question. What do you think, Mike? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was gonna say, as long as it's an even playing field. So if you want to have the batters on steroids and the pitchers messing with the ball, or pitchers on steroids like Roger Clemens versus Barry Bonds, right? Both on steroids. So as long as it's an even playing field, then I think I'd rather have that. It makes it exciting, right? You'd like to think we have a 100% clean game today. And it's not what it was back then. So it's a tough call. I think, I don't mind where baseball is today. I love baseball. I love where we're at. I love the game. And, in general, I think the league's gotten so much better. I love the kid from the Los Angeles. What's his name? I suck at names. But the kid he's pitching and he's batting.
From the Angels?
Yeah. Is it Tani? Am I thinking?
Oh, the guy from Japan?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is the problem, and I've admitted this. Like, I used to follow baseball so closely, and I'm
Tani, and I don't know how to say it, but I mean, he's so exciting, and I love watching that guy because he can pitch like the hell of a game, but he can also go up and lead the league in home runs, and it's stuff like that. And if you can have 100 of him, great. Not possible, but if you can have 100 of him, great. But when someone like that comes,
there it is, masking Otani. You're right.
Otani. Yeah, thank you. It is Otani. Yeah, so if you can have guys like that in the game, it just makes it exciting. You know what I mean? Like, he's so much fun to watch, and that was what made the steroid era fun. Is just they dominated. And here's a guy who's doing it cleanly, but he's one of the best pitchers, one of the best hitters in the league. He's like it's like being the star player on a high school team. It's like you can pitch one day and the next day you're hitting all the home runs. So, guy's a badass, and if we could have 1,000 of him, that'd be great. It's not possible, but it's just what makes the game more exciting. So I think that's such a now the question he asked is a tough one, because there's the moral version of it, and then there's the excitement version.
Do we want people dropping dead like Cam Caminiti?
Right.
At what is he? Not even in his early 40s, he drops dead. Didn't he carry the San Diego Padres to the World Series in '98?
Yeah, I mean, he was a rock star, man. I mean, he was really good. So there's a lot of players like that. You look at something like pro wrestling, where a lot of those guys who were doing steroids just drop dead. So it's tough, because when you start to do stuff like that and you're on the road and you're playing now 162 games a year, and now you're trying to make up for some of that stuff. And I think today's players get a little more heat for, your star player might not play 162 games. He might play 150 games, and they'll give him shit for Stephen A. Couldn't be the face.
Yeah, but I heard Stephen A. also said something pretty offensive about him too.
He did. Bobby's right. He did say that, and he's dead wrong. I think Otani can definitely be the face for it.
Oh, he couldn't be the face. I'm sorry. I read that. I thought it said should. Yeah.
No, wow. He couldn't be the face, because of his background and stuff. I don't know if he explicitly said anything about, he's from Japan or whatever, but I think
Stephen A., as much as I do like him, man, that was some stupid things he said about him.
Not a smart guy. Guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, the thing I look about steroids is like, all right, yeah, it's cheating, whatever. I'm not a big fan of the federal government telling you what you can do, as far as stuff like that. If you know the risks of steroids and you want to do them,
they took our nerves.
Yeah, you took your chance. But I mean, that is the thing. Like, yeah, they look at it as cheating, but I'm also like, I don't know. That's a tough one. To be fair, they are dropping dead off of the field. They're just cycling, no pun, a new crop of roided players in. What are we saying, Masson? There's more. There's still roided guys, or
no? I mean, they're. It's not like they're taking steroids and dying on the spot.
No, it's taking time, but I mean,
I mean, they're adults and they're making that decision.
Steroids
might help you hit the ball farther. It's not going to help you see the ball better. It's not going to help you, read a pitch better. It's not going to help you. I mean, again, it's a gray area, right? It's definitely, you think of the steroid era, it's one of the most profitable times in baseball history, the most profitable time.
Well,
And guys like Griffey, who played the great game the right way, as far as we know, right? He played the game the
got
right
Griffey in the
way.
background here.
There you go. Love Griffey, one of my all-time favorite players. But you look at a guy like that who, as far as we know, played the game the right way and kept up with those guys. But there's not a lot of Griffeys out there. So it's their decision to make.
No, I agree. It's just very, you wanted to get the fans back, and they did, and then they essentially, the coaches never got, Tommy. Oh God, what's his name? Yeah, he never got held accountable. Bobby Cox never got held accountable. Oh, they put all the managers in that knew their players were doing steroids. Right. So why not let the players in too? Are the Celtics in trouble? Or do you think they can bounce back?
I think the Celtics have been struggling for the last couple of years to kind of find out what that team is, their dynamic. They didn't resign Kemba. Kemba got benched. So you say, okay, maybe he's part of the problem. And then you go with these other guys, and a lot of people ask if the stars can play together. I don't know. Can Tatum and Brown play together? There's a lot of question marks, but I do think they have the talent to be a very good team. I think they're a team who can sneak in at 7, 8, 6, maybe, and run with it. But they have a lot of stuff to figure out. So, are they in trouble? They have some stuff to figure out. Will they be in the playoffs? Yeah, I think so.
All right. No. Yeah, and we're going to a game soon, right? Going with Tim Hogan.
We are in a couple weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
We've never gotten rid of Taco. Should have kept Taco and just let him run with it.
Well, let me ask you something. This has been a big debate in our group chat when it comes to NXT 2.0.
Oh, here we go. Yep.
Which I'm absolutely loving it. Can't get enough of it. I want NXT to be a developmental brand. We get into a lot of arguments about whether it's been a developmental brand or whatever. A lot of people are looking at it as a third brand. Do you think NXT should be developmental, or do you think it should be a third brand?
I think it should be a third brand, but I do think you need to wait a little bit, because you can't say the guys who are in NXT are making as much of an impact as Raw and SmackDown. You just don't have,
They're not making the same money. I think it's $50,000 a year when you get signed, unless you're a bigger name like Samoa Joe or Nakamura.
Right. So it's tough to really say that. I think they should be a third brand, but I think they should be sort of, maybe developmental is not the right word, but it should be kind of like this is sort of the ranked number 3 show. But they are on what, USA? Are they still on USA?
Yeah, I think USA, when they lost SmackDown and WWE got that big contract with Fox, they said, give us another wrestling show.
They have a massive audience potential, and you had guys. I mean, I don't know if you have them anymore, but you had Gargano and a couple of those other guys who you had Adam Cole. So did they view it as developmental? Maybe that's part of the issue. When guys like that say, it's a developmental thing, and I really need to be main event, or I haven't moved up in a while, and I need to move on from this. You got, Ciampa, you got, there's just so many guys who have so much potential to be stars anywhere they go. So if they view it as developmental, they might say, see you later. And I think that's part of the problem. If you lose the Adam Coles, the Kyle O'Reillys, the Garganos, if those guys start to view it as, I'm not going anywhere with this, this is small time and I can do better. Now that you have so much opportunity for those guys to go to AEW, they can main event the Tokyo Dome. They can, there's a lot of places for them to go. They can go to TNA or Impact, whatever we're calling it now. So it's all about positioning. I don't consider it developmental, but if they do, then they won't stick around.
And I just got to say, Gargano didn't resign. He's got options here. I wouldn't go to Impact. You're not going to get it. You're not going to be on TV. They don't have a great TV deal like AEW. But the thing is, like, AEW is now they're overflowing with wrestlers at this point.
And
So
you can't all be the main event, you know. And
no,
Gargano, I can sympathize with because he's gonna be a dad in February.
he might just take time off and come back. But I do
He might
think
just
I
say, "Let
do
me see what I
like
can do."
what I've loved about NXT 2.0 is that you are now presenting new characters, and I want new characters. I want to see people work at trying to get better. And I find that to me as a wrestling fan, that's an entertaining show to me.
Right.
I'm not entertained when I put on Monday Night Raw. I'm like, this is the same shit I've been seeing for 5 years.
They're too formulaic now, and
You
you
know,
know, I hate when they, and I don't watch Raw or SmackDown. I gotta admit, I haven't in years. I don't watch unless it's a pay per view or something like that. I don't really watch a lot in general, but when they have like a big match, they say, "Let's do a contract signing." I'm like, ugh,
I love contract signings.
I hate that.
It's always going to end in disaster.
Yeah, because you just know how it's gonna end. You know, it's like Miz TV. It's like, this week we have Miz TV and it's gonna be Edge. Like they're gonna fight, and we know that. And not that's not entertaining to some extent, but I know what's gonna happen. So who cares? You know, make me
Yeah.
care. Make me care again.
I just like new characters, however you go about it. I really like what NXT 2.0 is doing. And I do find, and maybe, everybody's disagreeing with me, I guess, and that's fine. They're like, well, the ratings don't show that. I go, I don't give a shit about ratings. I'm not the one, I'm just the fan
Yeah,
watching.
you don't make money off ratings.
I make no
You're just
money
a fan.
off ratings. I don't care.
You're just a fan.
I'm entertained by every segment. And that's really all that matters. The other thing that WWE is now doing, this feels like tough enough, but I don't know if it's going to be a TV show or not. But you got the next in line. They're not signing independent wrestling talent. They didn't sign people that are wrestlers. They're going to make them into wrestlers. They're D1 athletes, which, wrestling, and Bobby says Braun Steiner. Yeah, I love Braun Breaker.
He's
Big
great.
fan.
He's amazing. And I've said this before, and I've said this to you before, but I'll say
That's
it
the next
again.
T-shirt I'm getting, Braun Breaker.
Oh, get that. Yeah. Don't wait
Should
on
have had
that.
that yesterday.
So yeah. So and I've said this to you before, but I'll say it again. You know, the Kurt Angles, the Mark Henrys, the Big Show. I mean, you go down the line of guys who were just sort of scouted. Mark Henry actually scouted Braun Strowman. So you think of these guys who might not have found wrestling otherwise. And you think, what brands do they already bring with them? You know, Kurt Angle had a brand way before he got to WWF, WWE, and you think about kind of stuff like that. Should it be their only funnel? No, but I think the fact that they're exploring like that stuff with athletic people is a good thing. You know, I think
I do too. As long as that's not your only thing.
it's always not your only source, yeah, because you'll lose out I think I said to you before, you lose out on the Daniel Bryans, who they almost had to be forced to put in the main event, who was undeniably the most popular wrestler in the world.
Well, let's not. I just want to pause one thing on Daniel Bryan. They did force in 2014. He'd already held the world heavyweight title in 2011. So the company did believe in him. I don't know what was going on there, to be honest, because the company had shown that they believed in Daniel Bryan before.
Right.
And obviously they believed enough in him to have him win at SummerSlam, even if he lost. Like, I don't want to go too off topic, but I feel like that was the biggest con job of all time.
It's tough too, because you think of the CM Punk had been world champion a couple times by the time he dropped the pipe bomb. Do they get the notoriety that a main eventer, so to speak, gets? Probably not. Daniel Bryan.
They weren't John Cena.
They had Daniel Bryan come out and say, "I'm going to cash this in at WrestleMania," and they almost guaranteed he's going to be the main event. And then a couple weeks later, say, "Screw it, just go attack Big Show after he's had this match."
So Bobby says the world title wasn't that big in that time.
Yeah, it's a secondary title.
It was still a world title, though. It's not like they weren't like. I disagree. I think they always thought Daniel Bryan was a star. The only thing with that year was that, hey, we got Batista back. Let's put him in the main event. But I also feel like they tricked us. Like they did all these things to get you way behind Daniel Bryan. And anybody that knows anything about professional wrestling knows how the fans are going to react to that.
Right.
So did they swerve? Was that the ultimate swerve? We're going to make the fans believe that they did this.
Maybe, I think, I think, um, not having him in the Royal Rumble, they knew they would get a reaction from that. You put a Rey Mysterio out there to get booed, which is not fair to Rey Mysterio. You bring back
No,
Batista. I think if they did do that on purpose, they made a lot of mistakes along the way.
that's a huge troll job, though. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, maybe they did. It just feels like they did believe in Daniel Bryan. To say he's just a B+ player on air
At that
makes
point,
me.
they know what they're doing. At that point,
It
they
just
made the decision.
because, but the other thing about it was he was playing hot potato with the title with Randy Orton all that time, and they said, all right, now we're gonna do like a big match, unification match. It's gonna be Cena and Orton, but Daniel Bryan had been chasing, and they're like, all right, we're just gonna cut it off. I feel like they set us up. They set the fans up to really buy into that. And to this day, I feel like that must have been like a Triple H idea or something because I
Maybe.
feel like the fans were like, "Yeah, we did that.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
did that. Did
Yeah.
did we?"
Where he's like, if you don't like it, go tweet about it. And I think that's backfired on him over time. But
Blue Tista is still the
Batista,
greatest Batista.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love Batista. Yeah, the outfit was badass.
One other thing, wrestling wise, then we're gonna get to top fives and blank versus blank. But um, here's a lot. I know you're a huge Miz fan.
Yeah,
Um, CM Punk went out of his way to say, MJF, you're nothing more than a less famous Miz.
right,
There's been the huge comparison between the Miz and MJF, but MJF never really turns it off. Miz
right.
can turn it off. Obviously, he represents WWE
There's
like
Mike
10.
and then there's the Miz. Yeah, and you can see that in some of his interviews and stuff.
So, I mean, what are you feeling the MJF CM Punk feud, and is MJF the comparisons to the Miz fair?
I think the comparisons are fair. I think sort of his look and his attitude reminds
I mean,
me
the
of.
scarf looks like Del Rio. Just
Yeah,
saying.
definitely. He reminds me of like the Miz from like 2010, 11, somewhere around that. So I can understand that. I think the Miz has evolved over time to a little bit different of a character. So I guess there's some comparison there. I think MJF is kind of one of those anomalies where he's sort of ahead of where he ever should have been in his career right now. So I think the comparison to an older version of the Miz is fine. I think what they are today, who they are today, is probably a little different. It's going to get some pops, that's for sure. But I think it's a fair comparison, but I think there's stark differences um, between MJF and the Miz. And MJF is better now at his age than Miz was at either. And yeah, Bobby's right. I think that CM Punk still holds a lot of heat with the Miz over the main event of WrestleMania and getting the belt. And
They are
um,
buddies, though.
they're not.
Punk and
They
Miz.
used to
I
be.
could have sworn they were on like Twitter or something like that.
So they used to be. So if you look back, there was a point where the Miz did a spot on Fox, and CM Punk was working for Fox at the time, and the Miz said something along the lines of like, "Hey, sorry I didn't change the culture," because that's what CM Punk said when he came on the show, and then CM Punk said something very unfavorable about like going to Saudi Arabia, and he said, "As a blood-soaked D in Saudi Arabia, you nerd," to the Miz. So I think, and the Miz has also said when he became world champion the first time, it was eye opening for him because people he thought he was his friend turned against him, and I think he's directly talking about CM Punk in that example.
It's crazy how they take a scripted show. As much as we love wrestling, it's predetermined.
And you
I
make
guess when you're the, I
it.
get, I understand being jealous when someone else, I guess, is the top guy, but
Yeah, someone who's getting
you
your
know,
spot, and if you think you deserve it, if he didn't think he deserves it, then that's probably worse than hating against him.
yeah,
Hating him for it or having something against him, I should say. This is a let freedom ring first. My doorbell just rang. I don't know why, because it's 10:49. Can you give me 30
yeah,
seconds of dead air if you don't mind just covering it?
yeah. Well, we will. We're gonna take a TV time out here. Um, find out why this doorbell was rang. and see what happens here. Feel free to comment any question in the comments right now as we find out why Mike's doorbell has just been rang. Could be anything. There could be any reason that this is happening right now. We don't know. We're hoping he's okay. A lot of people don't ring doorbells at 10:50 at night. Um, Definitely could be ding dong ditchers. That was a big thing. Um, when I was a kid, we would do that from time to time. It was usually in the summer, not necessarily in December. So it is shocking that this is happening right now. Um, Probably not an Amazon package. Definitely not an Amazon package. It could be a neighbor. Maybe a neighbor's in trouble. Maybe a neighbor needs something. He does live very close to Boston, the Boston area, so could be could be a whole lot of things going on right now. But we're hoping that everybody's been enjoying the show, and um, back to football. Are the Pats or Chiefs who is a real contender for the AFC title? Bills, Colts, Chargers, or Bengals? I mean, the Colts have looked really, really better than I thought. Everybody knows I am not a big believer in Carson Wentz. I know Maura McCabe is very aware of that, but I thought they've been playing some good football. Chargers have been good. John Masson actually picked the Chargers to go to the Super Bowl this year. I don't believe in the Bengals. I do see the Bills as a wild card, but I do see that the Patriots. I do think the Patriots will actually win the division, which really excited about. But we will have to see. But that is a very good question. But I think it's going to come down to the Pats and the Chiefs. Was it an emergency? What happened?
No, no big deal. My neighbor actually works the night shift, and he says his package is showing up as delivered, but he couldn't find it, so he was asking if I brought it in, which I did not.
Interesting. Yes, the audience, myself, we were all kind of curious what was happening.
The best part is, I stole the package. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. I don't have the package.
Yeah,
I sympathize with him. That's actually happened to me a few times. My guess, if I was have to, if I was going to guess, I would say it's probably at the leasing office, because that's where some of my packages have ended up. So
makes the most sense. But all right, let's get in top fives. We'll go to blank versus blank. Top 5 podcasts to listen to right now.
Silverbow Experience is number 1.
Gonna put yourself over. I get it.
Yep. That's the one you guys gotta check out. It will make you laugh. You will not regret it. Nietzsche is one of the funniest people in the world. We crush it. It just dominates. Next, I will go with the Morse Code podcast. Dan Morse, Soapy Preop, good kids. I know you got your beefs with Soapy.
I mean, out of respect to your wedding, I didn't throw hands with them, but I was very close.
It was close. The bartender had come to me and said, "Hey, I think your brother's trying to fight someone," and I was like,
Yeah. I mean, if I get my hands on Soapy, it's over. After what he did on my show, after attacking me, I had stitches.
Years ago at this point.
It was last March, but I have not forgot. So Soapy, we're coming for you.
True. I don't know if Kurt Angle has a podcast. I think it's just called the Kurt Angle podcast. But that is a phenomenal one. He goes through a lot of some of his best matches. Some of the recent ones, they went through the invasion angle, which is kind of cool to see from his perspective. Because I think, as a fan, you got to say, like, it was a cool idea that was poorly executed because you didn't have Ric Flair, you didn't have Hulk Hogan, you didn't have the NWO. he didn't really have Goldberg, for God's sake. I mean, he didn't have the guy.
They lacked all the WCW stars.
Yeah, and you had to
Guaranteed
add,
contracts.
you had to add. My hair does not go one way or the other, so you see me do this a lot. But you had to add Steve Austin to the alliance, and to make some interest, you had to add Kurt Angle to it at one point. And you have some good guys there. You have RVD, the Dudleys. They're Taz.
Dudleys were WWE guys
At the time. Yes, they were.
Yeah.
At the
and
time,
then they were like, "Oh, now we're going to combine WCW with ECW."
Yeah, because you don't have enough people to make it work.
The saddest thing was that was like the peak of Kurt Angle's career, because he's been with the company in almost 2 years,
right?
And you're turning on WWF, you're on the alliance, you're turning back. Like, it was so. If they could have waited one more year,
I know. I wish they did. It would have been cool. And why didn't they? You knew those contracts weren't coming anytime soon.
Well, the thing was, these other guys wanted to work. Booker T left money on the table. Diamond Dallas Page. DDP leaves money on the table to get buried by The Undertaker.
To lose to Sarah.
To get pinned by The Undertaker's wife. DDP left guaranteed money on the table.
Horse later. Like, what are we doing?
Like, Mark Calloway, as much as I love The Undertaker, that's him. That was him. But anyways, I will digress.
Some people do call him Mark Cockaway. So, again, family show, but I'm just reporting the facts here. Kurt Angle podcast, I would definitely check that out. It's kind of along the same, and I'll just go with the wrestling podcast, the ones I'm listening to. JR has a podcast, JR's Barbecue. He is a really good one. A lot of fun to listen to. He goes a lot into detail about the Attitude Era and his opinions on sort of today's wrestling. All that kind of stuff is pretty great stuff. I think you hear a lot of perspectives that you wouldn't hear otherwise. Finally, I got to go with Something to Wrestle With, hosted by Bruce Pritchard. And Bruce Pritchard, for all the heat that he gets, is a phenomenal storyteller. You get to hear a lot about Vince McMahon and sort of that perspective of things.
His Vince McMahon impression's hilarious.
It's so good, yeah. And you hear a lot of cool stuff like
this is what we're gonna. I can't do it. I can't do it. Come on,
So that's good. Damn it! It's just really funny stuff, and you kind of get to hear cool perspectives on that stuff. Like when Jericho was coming into WWE or WF at the time, he was invited over to Vince McMahon's house, and they invited him to a Raw production meeting. And it was him, Bruce Pritchard, Shane McMahon, Pat Patterson, Briscoe, all the heavy hitters were there. And they went over Raw's sort of what's the plan here. And they said it all in front of Jericho and said, "Damn it, Chris, what do you think?" And they asked Jericho what he thought, and he kind of gave a little bit of opinion, but he basically just said, "Good ideas, man. Good job." And they were just testing him. Does this get back to Bischoff? Does Bischoff get on WCW and say this is what's going to happen? And they were just testing him, and he didn't, because he really wanted out. He was not any type of mole. He wanted out of WCW by any means necessary, and that's why Vince McMahon trusted him, and he brought him in the way he brought him in, which is a massive, massive, massive buildup. He interrupts The Rock. He gets to go toe to toe with best debut of all time. I gotta say, I really do think that
this was in the bracket last night of the best Attitude Era Monday Night War things ever. It did go. I put it in a very tough spot. You'll have to watch the episode, but it went out very early, even though it was a great moment.
One of the best. I mean, come on, it's so good, and not a lot of guys could have rise to the occasion the way that Jericho did. I remember probably 2012, 2013, I had said to a few of you guys in the old Pick'em League, I said Jericho's one of the best of all time. And he doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. He's my favorite wrestler besides, a couple guys that stand out above him. But, from like Steve Austin and The Rock, but Jericho as a character in, evolving, was one of my absolute favorites. When he came back in 2008 or whatever, and he was the slow talking, he changed his look a little bit.
Well, first he came back as a babyface, and then he evolved that because he's like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
He's very smart to know if something's not working, change it.
Exactly. And I think that he was very good at that. And he came back again, and he came back without sort of any fanfare or whatever. I mean, they built it up to it, and we kind of had an idea. It was Chris Jericho. I think there was a point where they went into this classroom scene, and the kid wrote Chris on his 83 weeks. 83 weeks. Good shout out, Bobby. 83 weeks to Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff does not get the credit he deserves for his part in the wrestling business. I think he's been dragged through the coals so many times by WWE's own production that he doesn't get what I think he should be getting for credit. So Bobby's right. 83 weeks to Eric Bischoff. I would definitely check that out. But
here's something I'm checking out right now too. Jeff Jarrett. Was it My Life?
I haven't listened to it. I've heard that's good.
Jeff Jarrett. And I'm big Jeff Jarrett. Spend my days working hard on the go, but the hands on the clock keep spinning too slow. I can't wait to be alone with my baby tonight. Anyways, Jeff Jarrett. The only guy to jump to Vince Russo goes to WCW, which is a sinking ship. Didn't take any talent with him, except Jeff Jarrett was going, yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Spend my days going to WCW.
Like, I do want to listen to some of the stuff because it's like, damn, Jeff, you were on the winning team.
Yeah.
You were on the winning team and you went over to a sinking ship that turned into a mess that didn't make any goddamn sense. I'm very curious to hear. I started his one where he talks about Bash at the Beach 2000, a pay-per-view that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. No sense. The only highlight is Booker T wins the title.
Now Jeff, he made a couple of mistakes with doing that. One, they said, okay, you're leaving. You have to put over China in this, like,
I think he was putting her over before that, though.
No, but they changed what it was going to be, which was him getting hot take. The Colts are the only team that will beat the Pats in playoffs.
Get out of here, man! No way. Well, maybe. I mean, they're going to be matching. They're matching up soon.
They're good. Can you stop? Old Jonathan there? That's
so I just wanted to clarify. Massing is very much like Maura McCabe. They believe in Carson Wentz. Eagles fan. But they both believe that Carson Wentz is like the Jesus Christ of football. He can do no wrong. They love this guy.
I think Carson Wentz was. I think he's better than. I think he's better than he got credit for in Philadelphia. And obviously, he was injured. Nick Foles comes in and wins the Super Bowl, so it's tough. But Carson Wentz is criminally underrated as a player, so I get that to some extent. You also have the best running back in the league in Jonathan Taylor. You have a lot of role players on that team, so not an easy team to beat. The Pats are going to play them off of a bye week too, so it's going to be a tough game. So they match up well. Can you stop the run is the big thing. I think they can stop the pass. Can you stop the run? That's a big thing. So Jeff Jarrett didn't want to put over China in the manner that he was being asked to. So he asked for a lot more money. So you need to give me like $100,000 more.
Now Bobby's attacking Wentz. This is going to turn into a Carson Wentz argument here. Wentz threw in to pick.
Yeah. So
I don't even hate Carson Wentz. I just think that he's made of glass. Just want everybody to know that.
I think Carson Wentz is underrated. So I'm not gonna hate on him. I do like Carson. So
let's do the Jeff Jarrett story. Then we're gonna go into blank versus blank because we have gone off the rails a little bit. But this is what the live stream is a good time.
So let me just finish the story, which is that he was asked to do this very embarrassing scene, and you can go back and watch that, of course. But he asked for more money last second and said, "I'm not going to do this unless you give me more money," which is what the Warrior had done to Vince McMahon all those years before that. So
Jarrett's was a little less substantial, though.
A little less substantial,
and it was money that I think was owed to him, and I could be wrong on that.
It's hard to say, but either way, he paid it. Jeff did the match. He did what he did. You know, but when they bought WCW, he was not originally welcomed back right away. It wasn't like a you're welcome back. He literally went on and said, "And Jeff Jarrett, you're fired." You know.
Oh, he said like the Jeff Jarrett's of the world, or that's why TNA exists, because Jarrett couldn't get. He was never going to get back to WWE at the
But you
time.
got to credit Jarrett with being able to do his own thing and take what Jerry taught him and apply it to TNA.
Well, I think what Jeff Jarrett proved was he's actually one of the, and this is why I love him. I spend my days working. No, anyways, but Jeff Jarrett is a great mind for the wrestling business. He was able to make a number 2 company, not AEW level. He didn't have the money of a Tony Khan, but he was able to do it. Even
number
though
2 is definitely the word for it, but
if you want to talk about a guy, you want to say Cody puts himself over, Triple H puts himself over. Nobody put himself over more than Jeff Jarrett, though, in TNA. Did Wentz win a Super Bowl over Tom Brady? Falls over Wentz. Man, I knew this was going to happen here.
Personal.
First off, Carson Wentz is the reason the Eagles got to the number 1 seed in 2017. Second, he single-handedly carried them to the playoffs in 2019 with 4,000 passing yards and not a receiver over 500 yards. They love him. The Eagles fans love him. They didn't give a shit about Nick Foles. They're like, get out.
Couldn't get a single receiver over 1,000 yards, huh? Couldn't get the ball to one guy. Talk about lack of consistency from the receiving corps, but not from Carson. Which is, I believe, the point he was trying to make, which is an important distinction. Do the Eagles get to that Super Bowl without Carson Wentz? It's tough to say.
That lies the question. Like, Nick Foles came in and finished the job. Who gets all the credit?
Right. And I think
it is a team game, and we always, we put so much time on the quarterbacks and forget the rest that had a big, pretty damn big part of it. I like to troll on Carson Wentz. I don't dislike him. I wish him success, but I think I want to put a beat down on the Colts.
Before we got Mac Jones, before we drafted Mac, and Mac became what he is today, which is, it's his first season, so who knows where he'll be next year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. But I had said, if the Patriots get Carson and can keep him healthy.
All right, now Bobby's just going off the rails here.
Maybe they go 19-0.
Okay. All right. This
doesn't happen. I mean, you can't say it doesn't happen. I mean, it could.
He's living this alternative. Maybe they go 19-0 with Foles.
Bobby, as Foles at the start of that year, did they lose any games, or did they just win out in the playoffs? I don't know how many starts he had, but
yeah, I'm actually not sure about that.
Maybe he does.
If Maxon is still watching, he would know. He follows the team very closely. I think Nick Foles is a great guy. Carson Wentz, good player. They won the Super Bowl that year, what it is.
Foles wins.
Foles got benched the next season for Wentz. Oh. Yeah.
So Foles won some big games. And he didn't. I remember watching that game.
And we're totally off the rails, and I'm loving this.
Yeah, no, it's great. Due to the live stream. So
I love live stream.
Like, he's got to turn it over at some point, right? And he didn't. And good for him. He won the Super Bowl that year. But Carson Wentz got them to the dance, and Carson was their franchise quarterback. So has Foles really proved himself beyond some good games? Like, is he a situational player? Yeah. But can he get you there? If he's the starter throughout the season, is he going to go, I guess they play 17 games now. So is he going to go 12-5, or is he going to go 11-6, or is he going to get you there? Like, he's definitely a situational guy. People forget Tom Brady threw over 500 yards in that Super Bowl.
Tom Brady was unbelievable. It just wasn't, it wasn't there. Again, we always put so much emphasis on the quarterback. It's not just the quarterback that's going to win you the games.
It's a team sport.
We could have anybody hand off the ball the other night on Monday. I
like the chances of winning the game if I played quarterback. against people. But that game plan, if I only had to throw it 3 times,
Yeah, like you
you
could
know,
have, could have taken somebody out of Pop Warner. I don't know. Nah, a kid getting hit would probably not be good. Uh, oh, here we go. And Maskin, you want Nick Foles as your quarterback, not your son-in-law. Don't forget, Foles balled out for Chip Kelly in 2011, BDN. So the Eagles fans do respect him,
yeah, you got to.
and
He
playing for Chip
was under
Kelly,
he
New
was under
Hampshire,
the
New Hampshire's own,
yeah. Eagles fans don't
horrible
like Chip
NFL
Kelly.
coach.
Yeah, Eagles fans don't like Chip Kelly, which is fair.
I don't blame
Um,
them. He traded away all their players and was like, "I'm going to try something different." That didn't work. Didn't even
he
come close to
called
working.
Deshaun Jackson a gangsta and traded him and said he's got gang ties. Get rid of him.
Man, Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly used to say this during practice, and this was highly covered. He used to say, "If it's all white, it's all right."
Yeah, he's
But
very
no,
questionable.
he did make some crazy accusations against Deshaun Jackson, and I
Yeah,
don't know what his sources were or whatever. But you chase your franchise receiver, whether he was at the beginning of his career, end of your middle career. He deserved more than what he got from Chip Kelly, which I don't think is fair.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to say Chip Kelly's a racist. I have no idea if he's a
I
racist.
didn't want to put that out there.
He is a New Hampshire guy that can, but all right, let's go to blank versus blank here.
Okay,
AJ Styles or Kenny Omega?
AJ Styles.
Bobby also says Chip Kelly was also about fast moving offenses, never a big man for the marathon game. Yeah. Okay.
Fair. Yeah,
Mm,
that's a
all right,
fair
well,
assessment.
you said AJ Styles?
I say AJ Styles. Yeah.
Any
AJ,
reason?
I think it's crazy. AJ has held the WWE Championship longer than total, longer than he ever held Impact, which is crazy. Which shows how much they value him, which is good. But he also a guy like Almost or whatever his name is,
Almas?
Almost. If you want to
Oh
put a
no,
guy,
is that his? No, Almas. Wow. I'm blanking on him. His
you're
name.
blank versus blank. No,
Yeah,
if you want to put, I think it's Omos, and if you want to put a guy
Almas, yeah.
like that over, give him an AJ Styles. I think there's a baby face run coming out of him. But I mean, he cut Deshaun after an All Pro year, but gave Riley Cooper. Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to. I don't want to accuse the guy of being a racist. These are things that don't look good.
yeah. It's questionable. It's questionable. And Deshaun, being one of the best players in the league at the time, and Riley Cooper being just a butthole.
Yeah, they hate him in Philly, man. They do.
Yeah,
They do not like him.
and sometimes it's if and you never know what goes on behind closed doors. Maybe Deshaun called him out on some things, and maybe he, as a leader of the locker room at the time, questioned some things, and then Chip said, gang ties, ship him off. It's hard to say, but I don't blame Eagles fans for not liking him. They're definitely entitled to that. He didn't do a good job with the team. Who won the title first, Eagles or Phils?
Phillies.
Phillies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think,
Bryce Harper. I mean, is as funny as I thought it was, and this is nothing against Philadelphia, but that he left.
and then they win the World
And he
Series.
won the World Series. I thought that was great.
You can't make stuff up like
It's
that.
just good storytelling, right? It's nothing against him. I like Bryce Harper. I think the Phils are building something. Eagles this
The
season.
season. All right, now.
But I love I love your enthusiasm for it. I love the fandom aspect of it too.
Eagles fans are diehards. I do respect that. I
Yeah,
respect that about them.
I actually went to Philadelphia pretty recently. I went for a wedding.
Oh yeah, you ran into Mo, right? Or did you tell her you were coming?
No, I told her I was coming. Yeah, I went there. I went into the city specifically for Mora to go meet up with her, and we had a blast. And we went to a couple bars that were amazing. Beers were good. Great time. The city. Eagles Brown better shot in 2021.
Browns are really on the decline.
I think they're both toast. I don't like any of their chances.
Yeah, I'd have to flip a coin, I think. I mean, I don't know if I could really. They both suck.
Yeah, they're both terrible. So it's hard to say. But I did go to Philadelphia. I met up with Moore. She took us around the city. We had a blast. So I would love to go to a game sometime and just experience the Philly, whether it be the Philadelphia Phillies, Philadelphia Eagles, whoever it may be. But it seemed like a good atmosphere, and she's very close to both stadiums, by the way.
Yeah, she's got an ideal spot.
She has a good location.
Better in the late 90s, Derek Jeter or Nomar Garcia-Parra? I'm not talking full career. I'm talking late 90s only. And I know A-Rod was like
97 and 99.
Yeah, let's say 97 and 99.
Nomar, and it's not even close.
He could have. He didn't really get the injuries.
More disrespectful to the Eagles, Bobby.
Probably Chip Kelly because he actually sabotaged the team.
Yeah, who knows how much Bobby had a hand in that though. Chip Kelly was a UNH guy. Bobby's a UNH guy. Who knows?
Oh, they're both UNH guys. Bobby's going to back Chip Kelly all the way.
Yeah, exactly. So I get that sort of. Who's that? Last player of all time? Me.
The shortstop, but I can still play there.
Well, I only played third, so it was not shortstop. But
no, all right, go on.
Shit, what was the question?
Nomar or Jeter, but we're only talking the 90s.
That's right.
Jeter did get a ring at that point, but was he better than Nomar then?
He did, and it's hard to say because it's not like either one of them was like miles ahead of the other. But Nomar was a 370 hitter a lot of those years, and he had more home runs. He had better average. Jeter's probably better on defense. Jeter's probably more of the captain. He's probably more of the leader at that point, even though they're both young in their career. If Nomar stays on the track that he was, say 97 to 2002, he's a surefire Hall of Famer, and has a better career than Jeter.
Sad how that all kind of played out for him.
That's a bummer. Yeah, and he went to Chicago. He had a not good time in Chicago. He went to LA and he won comeback of the year. He had 20 home runs, 100 RBIs. And I'm thinking, here comes Nomar, and thank God he's back. And then he just shut down after that. And then I think he kind of fizzled out in like Oakland. I think was the last team he played for.
He played for Oakland. That's how much I started losing track of his career. I never knew that.
He played for Oakland. I actually have, I lost it, but I had an Oakland A's Garcia-Parra shirt. I had a Chicago Cubs Garcia-Parra shirt. Bobby,
I remember the Cubs one.
You stole that Cubs one from me, you son of a. But I followed him throughout his whole career. And the A's was the first time he came back to Fenway. And look that up on YouTube. Pedro or Tim Lincecum. Ooh, that's a good question. Pedro. They're very comparable. I got to go Pedro, and that's not just because of the Red Sox. I think Pedro was, they're both multiple time Cy Youngs, though, too. That's such a tough one. I think Pedro had the longevity. I think
Lincecum's up for the Hall of Fame, right? I think he's on the ballot.
Right? It's 5 years.
I think he's on there this year.
He's got to be up there. I mean, he's a multiple-time Cy Young pitcher.
Because Pedro was the first ballot. We were there.
That's right. How many strikeouts does Lincecum have?
Yeah, he's up for it.
That's a tough one. I guess I know Pedro's stats off the top of my head. I don't know that I know Lincecum. But Lincecum, stud.
Question. Best slow pitch pickup league player by attitude? What do you mean? I don't understand the question. Like, who has the best attitude?
Lincecum only has 1,700 Ks. Their wins are kind of. I think Pedro has at least 200. Lincecum is a stud. Don't get me wrong, but Pedro for sure.
I don't know, Bobby, who has the best attitude going into the games.
Who's the least butthole?
Richard Bates. He's always positive. He's always trying to help out. There's been times where he volunteered to pitch for both teams because we threw in gloves and both teams didn't have a pitcher. So I'd go with Batesy.
That's fair. Let me throw this out for you though. The last time Pedro went to Fenway was for the A's. And if you haven't seen that footage, go watch that because he gets the craziest, longest ovation. And it was really cool to see because there wasn't a kid in New England who didn't want to be Nomar when you were a kid. And it's a shame the injuries. It's a shame he kind of bitched his way out of Boston. in 2003, but or
4. He left
2004,
in 4.
sorry,
Yeah.
2004, sorry, and my friend one baseball or basketball and why. Um, whether it's personal or whether it's as a professional sport that I watch, I would say basketball. Basketball is I love basketball. I used to love it when I was a kid, and I played a ton. But I blew my knee out playing basketball, and I was pretty good at baseball, but I was terrible at basketball. I blew my knee out playing the sport I sucked at. As a professional sport, I feel like I have a better pulse on baseball, and I feel like I understand the sport better, and I understand what makes a team work, a pitcher good, a batter good, whatever it may be.
We
So
grew up in a baseball household.
yeah, so I got to go baseball, regardless of how that's framed. It's my favorite sport of all time till this day.
I'm sorry. What was your your point on Nomar? You're saying that he played for the A's.
He played for the
And
A's. You go watch his return for Fenway. If you had given me no more from 97 to 2002, I'll say two. I'll cap it at 2. He did play in 2003 though, so maybe I'll cap it at 3. Um, if he had stayed on that track, he's way above Jeter, and he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, he was on his way to having he ended up in maybe like 321 territory, but he was on his way to having like a 350 lifetime average. I mean, he's hitting 20 to 30 home runs a year, 200 hits. I mean, I think he goes a long way. And Jeter is, don't get me wrong, that's the captain. That's a badass dude right there. He's the Bernie Williams and Rivera are the only Yankees I'll ever love. And I think that Jeter had a hell of a career and deserved everything he got, but Nomar was better.
only Yankees paraphernalia that I actually own.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the Hall of Fame stat lines of Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
What I always found really fascinating: 66 triples. That's all. 66 triples in his whole career.
That's a lot of triples, though, isn't it?
I don't know what's considered a lot. That's the only thing that kind of got to me. Man, these stats are good.
Yeah, there's triples aren't easy, that's for sure. I don't know what let's see.
Demarius Thomas, RIP.
Well, it's not a lot in terms of the all time.
95 to 2014. Man, it feels like he played longer than that.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah,
I mean, no, I guess that makes sense. That's about a lifetime.
66 isn't a lot of triples. He is number 446 on the all-time list.
66 triples, 260 home runs, 1311 RBIs, stolen bases 38, 358, batting average 310. Career, that's pretty amazing.
310, yeah. Hall of Fame career for sure. 3,000 hits. I mean,
3,000 hits. Well, you want to know how many doubles he had? 544.
Let's see. Bobby wants to know, Dan, what's the biggest catfish in human history?
Oh, I would probably say he's probably talking about Manti Te'o. All I can say about Manti Te'o is don't go on national TV saying your girlfriend's dead if you've never actually met her.
Right.
That was probably a big mistake. And then to have some guy show up at the national championship saying, yeah, I was the girl. Pretty awkward.
Yeah, that's tough. How many doubles do you say that Jeter had? Oh, okay. So, all right. Here's a question. Who had more doubles, David Ortiz or Derek Jeter?
I mean, I would probably say Jeter, but you're going to tell me it's Ortiz.
I'm going to tell you it's Ortiz. So, David Ortiz had 632 doubles, which is almost 100 more doubles than Derek Jeter.
That's crazy. I can't believe Jeter only had like 66 triples in all those years.
That sounds like, I mean, triples don't happen every day. It doesn't. You would think, that's right. I was there for 600. Yeah, I have that documented actually.
I was on a beach that day in a freezing cold, but all right. let's get through some of these here. Would you rather watch Dark Side of the Ring or the Monday Night Wars?
That's a good question because I haven't seen a lot of Dark Side of the Ring. I know
So
it's
good.
super controversial and
So freaking addicting and good, but so is the Monday Night War.
so here's what I'll give you: Dark Side of the Ring. What ballpark you playing affects your stats?
Sure. I mean, they always said that about Ted Williams.
Think about it. They brought in right field at Yankee Stadium to help Maris and Mantle hit home runs. Not just him. I mean, even just like think about playing at Fenway Park. If you're a right-handed hitter, it's what 314 down the line to left. If you're a right-handed hitter, it's like 307. It's a short porch. So yeah, I agree with that. It definitely makes a difference.
It's not football where all the dimensions are the same.
Yeah,
or basketball
exactly.
or hockey. Like baseball is weird like that.
Right. So I mean, and think of who the greatest players of all time, and then think of the fact that Fenway, Wrigley, and Yankee Stadium are three of the smallest parks. Colorado was a launch pad. Yeah, absolutely.
Don't disagree there. Don't say it affect the quarterback stats. Sure. Okay.
That's fair too. You don't
All
mess
right.
with the elements.
Yeah, a little bit of weather. But I'm just saying they're same size.
You don't get the Buffalo Bills game.
No.
If they had a
No.
dome, we're not even talking about that game.
No.
So
You gotta play to where you're playing. The only ones that doesn't change, I guess, would be hockey and basketball. Basketball court's a basketball court. A hockey rink's a hockey rink. The only difference is I guess fans. But Dark Side of the Ring or Monday Night Wars, pick one.
I'm gonna go Dark Side of the Ring because I think that. So I've seen the Monday Night Wars, but it's also 100% of the messaging is driven by WWE, who won the war.
Jesse Martineau brings that up a lot.
Right. So, and I think that's a fair point. I think that they get to control the narrative, whereas Dark Side of the Ring is kind of impartial judge, and you can see the full. You just get a better perspective, I think. So I'm gonna go Dark Side of the Ring.
Who is more right in the Montreal screw job? Vince McMahon or Bret Hart?
Bret Hart. I go Bret Hart because I think, Bret screwed Bret to a degree. He said, we need you to drop the belt. He said, I'm not going to drop the belt to that bitch.
After everything Shawn had done to him.
I think Bret had earned the scars that he had about Shawn. I think Vince could have said, you know what, Bret, I appreciate your perspective. Here's a contract. I need you to say you'll give me the belt back. I think there's ways he could have gone about it that weren't as deceptive. So,
Vince had already screwed him. He gave him a 20-year deal and took it back.
Exactly. Yeah. So
people don't talk about that.
Yeah, and he even made Bret announce a 20-year deal, and he's like, "Thank God," and he so. I agree with that. I think that's another area where he was screwed by him. So I think that I'm on Bret's side. I think Vince could have made more of an effort to intervene, and all I can think of is Medusa and dropping the belt in the trash, and he just decided that's not what he wanted. Putting the intra-conference dilemma aside, would you trade Jaylen Brown straight for Ben Simmons? No, I don't like Ben Simmons at all. Probably comparable. I
don't think I would.
Comparable abilities, but Ben Simmons is such a little bitch. He is sitting out his part of his contract, and I don't think anyone in Philadelphia loves Ben Simmons. So I would not make that trade. No, I don't think.
You're not dumping that on us.
It's not worth the headache.
NXT or AEW? Current NXT.
That's so tough for me. I don't watch a lot of either. I love Cody Rhodes. I'm
my two favorite shows.
Huge Cody Rhodes fan. Huge Jericho fan. I think MJF is slowly winning me over. I don't watch a ton of what he does, but I think he has a good perspective on the right. He plays an a-hole, but I think he does have a good perspective on what he needs to be doing. They brought in CM Punk. They brought in a couple guys. I think we went to one of the first AEW shows in Boston, or in the Boston area, I should say.
A stupid idea from bad creative.
That's right. When they start chanting for old Drake Haga.
Yeah.
That's tough to say. I do think that AEW has more characters than I'm invested in. I don't watch either, and I hate to say that. I don't watch any wrestling because I don't even have cable, so I really don't do a lot of that. Cross sports trade Ben Simmons for N'Keal Harry. Yeah, I'd make that trade. I take a ham sandwich for N'Keal Harry. So I would say I don't watch a whole lot of either one. I do think that NXT 2.0 is building something. I love Steiner. I think he's cool. I think
Breaker. Yeah.
that team versus team main event was very well done. So I think they're building something more where I think AEW tries to be something sometimes. I think that NXT is sort of carving its own place. I think AEW tries too hard to be the anti-WWE. And I can't stand Tony Khan. I think he's so annoying.
I love him. Are you ready for AEW Dynamite? When he came out, like I got a good video.
Yeah,
of him doing
no. Listen, I think what he's doing
for
he's backing, he's putting the money behind it. Just like shut up, like the whole ratings thing. I'm like, he's like, we won the ratings between 18 and 31 between 8 o'clock and 8:30. It's like, yeah, but more people are watching WWE. More people are consuming that content. You don't have a network. You have a third, a fourth, a fifth, maybe less of the social media. It's just he's so caught up in like it's like he's a kid when living the Monday Night Wars.
I respect the passion though. It's his money. It's his guys that he believes in. He's gonna get fired up.
I gotta say, I don't care about his passion. He's a money guy. It's good for him for being a fan of wrestling. It's hard for me to say Vince McMahon isn't a fan of wrestling, or I don't know. I just he seems so. It's his dad's money. Yeah, exactly. And
it's gonna be his money soon. I mean, his dad's not gonna live forever.
He just seems like I don't know. He just seems like someone who's like, yeah, dad gave me money. This is what I'm going to do with it. I'm
glad it's what he's doing with it then.
Yeah, and I just don't care that he's a fan of wrestling. Just be AEW. Don't be, we're not WWE. You know what I mean? And he's just like, I don't know. He just seems like a nerd too. Something about that bothers me. But
I mean, I like him. I thought I got a good video of him because he comes out because when they do the tapings, they do Rampage after. And he comes out, he's like, we got Daniel Bryanson versus Eddie Kingston! Yeah! And he's getting jacked up, and then he's like, who's ready for AEW Rampage? And I'm like, something about that I like. I like the passion.
But don't you think that he comes out and does that for his own amusement, not like it betters the product?
He is the owner. I mean, the owners of every company, it's not just Tony Khan. They've all done this forever.
So he doesn't like Eric Bischoff because I
don't think he doesn't like Eric Bischoff. I think Eric Bischoff said some things he didn't like.
Max Scherzer is one of the best pitchers of all time. I think anytime you get Max Scherzer, it's got to be on that list. I think I was surprised that LA didn't go farther with Max Scherzer. I think Washington, yeah, one of the best pickups of all time, 100%. I think he gets mad at Bischoff, right? Because Bischoff had some yeah. I mean, that was a trade. That was a trade, but yeah, Orlando Cabrera was a big pickup. But I think that Bischoff has said you're focused on this war that doesn't exist. And Tony Khan made such a big deal about SmackDown versus whatever they call their show. And there was 30 minutes of one being above the other, and it's just who cares, man? It's the thing you're bragging about is this very minuscule thing, and WWE outperformed them for the entire night for the most part. Their audience was older, but they're like, this key demographic, we were above them for 23 minutes. I'm just like, shut up. I can't stand Tony Khan. I'm sorry, but he's just so annoying. and he's just this like he reminds us of this kid who like has his dad's money, who just is like making himself part of the show, and I don't think he needs to be. I think he's just a fan like everybody else, and that's great. But I think he discredits people like Eric Bischoff and Tony Khan, for better or worse, grew up on the Monday Night Wars and the bias of the reporting on the Monday Night Wars, and he acts like Eric Bischoff is just a jerk, and he's not.
I think Tony Khan's just trying to make a character of himself too, where he's got
go
to.
away. He just go away heat with me.
I actually really like him. I'm just gonna be honest. I like Tony Khan.
That's fine.
I like seeing him on TV. It did crack me up when he's like, "Oh, you're right." Like he's getting. I don't know. Anyways, we'll move on from that. Would you rather live in Massachusetts or New Hampshire?
That's a really tough question. It depends because work-wise, I'd rather live in Massachusetts. They pay better down here. The hours are better down here. I think personally, I'd rather live in New Hampshire, but professionally, I'd rather be in Massachusetts. 100%.
All right, two toughest ones.
The closer you are to the city, the better your salary gets, and I've experienced that.
All right, two toughest ones in blank versus blank, and then we'll wrap this up. So, Bobby or Masson, if you're still watching, you still got questions, get them in shortly. First one, Morse Code Podcast. You only can keep one of them. Dan Morse, Soap Pre-Op.
That's like to run the show.
One gets fired, one stays.
That's hard to say. I like them both. I love them both. They're great people.
I mean, you know where I stand. Keep Morse. Get rid of Soapy.
Yeah. Soapy's my boy. It's nothing against Dan Morse. I love Dan Morse, but Soapy is a guy I hang out with. So that stuff. But also Dan brings great perspective. His name is on the show. He helps make me shirts for my podcast. So
I won't put your feet to the fire. I like both guys, even though if I get my hands on Soapy, I mean he's done. But excluding Chip Kelly, who is on your Mount Rushmore? Oh my God, they really hate Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly, Hitler, Stalin. No. Yeah, they hate Chip Kelly.
They really do.
Honestly, well deserved. Chip Kelly was a terrible coach.
Clueless to what to do in the NFL.
Clueless. Didn't understand the city or anything. Dan Blair, Tim Blair. One has to miss Christmas Eve. Oh.
I would probably pick me. I mean, Tim brings the kids.
No, I'm not going to pick between my brothers. I'm not going to do that stuff. I would love to see you both for Christmas Eve. I hope that's what happens. That's what I was planning on. I was planning on coming up to see you guys. So I hope you're all there.
You got to kick one out of the group chat. Tim Hogan or Derek Brown?
Derek.
Or Derek.
I love Derek. Derek's my boy. I absolutely love Derek. But he hates McUltras. He hates America. He hates freedom.
He's a Bears fan?
He's a Bears fan. So yeah, Derek. But Derek, right. I love you, buddy.
But anyways, I hope everybody's enjoyed this. This is a good little live stream that we did here. Mike, I appreciate coming on. We always want to keep something I do different live streams, but I like to have something every Thursday just to give some content for Let Freedom Ring. I appreciate coming on. I appreciate everybody that supports this show, that checks out this show. And next week, we got a big week coming up. We're going to have Kendall Reyes on. We're going to have Pleasure Pete. It's going to be a big week. Big things happening here on the show. And I appreciate everybody that supports it. And Mike, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I definitely want to listen to the Pete May Car episode. I want to listen to the Kendall episode. You got a lot of good stuff lined up. So I'll be listening. Everybody else should be listening too. Go on your Apple Podcast. Thank you, Jonathan. John, listen, go Eagles, go Phillies. I went to Philadelphia, had a really good time there. So I think, he doesn't like Chip Kelly, and he's earned that. He shouldn't like Chip Kelly. I wouldn't like Chip Kelly either.
No, I don't really blame him. Chip Kelly came in and just kind of like
he's a total butthole. So thank you. I appreciate that. And listen to the Maxton Silver Bow Experience. Check it out. Bobby gets it. Silver bone it up. Love it. Check it out. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We're everywhere you find your podcast. If you want to check us out on social, at the Silver Bow Experience. Thank you. There's our there's our logo right there. We'll get that on a t-shirt for you. We are at Silver Bow Experience on Instagram, at Silverbow EXP on Twitter. Follow us. Give us some feedback on what you're hearing. But we think you'll enjoy it. It's a very funny podcast. It does not take itself too seriously. So if you need a good laugh, that's every Friday we'll drop a podcast via.
All right. Well, Mike, and send me all that. We'll get that in the comments. We're going to promote that. But I appreciate you coming on. I'll probably see you tomorrow. I think I'm going to head up north with you guys. So,
Love it.
But everybody out there, keep your heads up. We'll see you next week. We're going to have 2 episodes back in the studio. Actually, we're going to have 3 episodes next week because we are going to get Dave Coulis on the show, on the live stream, Monday night, 9:05. Kendall Reyes, Tuesday night. Pete McCarr, Pleasure Pete on Thursday. But everybody out there, keep your heads up. We love you. We love the support. Until next time, let freedom ring.
Later.